a 1 and a 2. All right.
Okay. Is it happening?
It's happening.
Is it real? Yay! Here we are. Woo. Wait. Oh, I have to mute my YouTube. There it is. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Tara Show. It is March 13th, which means you've survived about almost 2 months of the Trump-Musk regime. And it's already impacted my lovely co-star, Tara Dublin, and co-host. It's literally made you sick now.
Yes. Well, I was bedridden since Sunday. Sunday night, I got really sick. All of a sudden, I just felt sick. Started throwing up. Had a fever.
Oh.
It was gross.
Maybe it was the norovirus, because the norovirus is like sudden onset, upset stomach and vomiting. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
And you said you were in that group setting. You were at a party.
Yes.
Right? And that's where it spreads. It spreads where people are
way.
eating and drinking and clicking glasses. And
I don't drink, but there was a buffet, so yeah.
There it is. Everybody touching the handles on the buffet spoons.
Shit, man.
There it is. You got the
norovirus.
Bet you anything. I'll bet you anything that's what it was. Because as soon as you said I was throwing up, my ex-husband's a doctor, so that makes me an amateur physician. But no, seriously, it probably was. You know, like why they always get norovirus outbreaks on cruise ships?
Yes. Wow.
Similar.
Incredible.
People packing in where there's food and touching things. And
no, it was really, I got scared because I had a fever once years ago and it lasted for a long time and I ended up in the hospital and it was the worst and it was a long story, and then I was bedridden for a month. So every time I get a fever, I'm like, oh no, this is it. Wheezy.
Oh no.
I'm going wheezy.
You're moving on up.
Yeah.
And especially now, if you get sick now, I think RFK Jr. would be like, "What? Just drink some apple cider vinegar and jump up and down.
Yeah,
and
do some squats, right?
Do some squats, shirtless in jeans, and then you'll be fine, just like and healthy.
Isn't he
strapping.
Gross?
Oh my God, he's so gross.
They don't know how to behave anywhere.
None of them.
Isn't that crazy?
None of them do.
Right.
I still don't understand wanting to kill off all of your voting base. I guess because you intend to never have an election again.
Right.
You don't need them.
Right. And fire them, right? I mean, they're pissing them off. But what I notice if you go on Leopards in Your Face and Project 2025 on Reddit, it just seems like a lot of them, they still can't let go of Trump. They'll say, well, I agree with what he's doing, but I shouldn't have been fired. I'm not DEI.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Well, are you a lady person? Because you're technically DEI. So,
right.
MAGA was actually calling Amy Coney Barrett a DEI hire.
Oh.
It's just, wow. You
painful.
cannot disagree. You cannot disagree with dear leader about anything, even if you actually do disagree with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the cult mentality. Like, you know that Democrats are capable of holding our own accountable. We do it all the time.
That's it, yeah.
John Edwards is a shining example of holding our own accountable. Bob Menendez, another example. Michael Avenatti. You know, if you screw up, we're going to let you know that you're done. And, the Democrats who voted to censure Al Green, bye, you're going to get primaried. We're done.
Yes.
We're done. We're done with
I
you.
hope so.
So the fact that you can, and this can lead us into one of the primary things I wanted to chat about today, because the MAGA cultists are incapable of holding leadership accountable when they make mistakes, even when their constituents are complaining. Republicans are doing it behind closed doors, or, this person under anonymity said, and then instead of speaking out publicly against what they know to be wrong, they're huddling behind closed doors going, hey, this Gestapo stuff is bad. And
they're cowards.
And if I were a person with that level of a platform, I was an elected official and somebody threatened me, threatened my life if I didn't vote for punch-drunk Pete Hegseth. Instead of voting for him, I'd call a press conference, Tom Tillis, and I would say, hey, I'm getting death threats instead of voting for this very inexperienced, drunken Fox News person. Right. So this leads me to my adventure of the week, which was trying to get a straight answer out of Nancy Mace, which again,
Yes.
blood from a stone is, the metaphor, because you can't get a straight answer from a Republican. Now, if you don't know who Nancy Mace is, please don't make me explain that to you.
Boy.
But we all know she's terrible.
If you don't know, you're lucky, because she's like a rake on a chalkboard.
If you don't know, you're about to. So, a few years back, she was pro-LGBTQ. She was pro-trans legislation. And then I guess she got the MAGA mean girl memo, which is, if you want to hang out with us and sit with us at lunch, you better start hating everybody that we hate.
She's horrible.
And she made her... Right, and she had like this overnight makeover into a MAGA mean girl, transphobic, Trump twun, whatever you'd like to call her.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my thing. You can't keep tweeting that Trump is a protector of women. She's a rape survivor, by the way. And so...
She says.
I'm
a little skeptical. I know, you're like, believe. You got to believe
it.
I don't know.
I choose to believe.
She's just a grifter on all levels, That's...
Well, yes. But the point being... Shouldn't say to anybody who mentions her rape that we're rape shaming her, which we're not doing.
No,
but she's allowed to use her rape.
Yeah,
right.
I hear you.
She's allowed to use her rape and be like, oh well, as a survivor of sexual assault, I can speak to what it's like to be in a woman's locker room and feel like I'm in danger.
But
no, you don't. You've never been in danger in a woman's locker room.
Exactly.
No, you haven't. Okay. So anyway, this alleged champion of women who believes Donald Trump is a protector of women, even though he's an adjudicated rapist, pedophile, friend of Jeffrey Epstein.
Who trolls the dressing rooms where young, contestants in his beauty pageants were changing.
We all know how he's not the protector of women.
Talk about feeling unsafe.
We can enumerate that. It's right there for everybody to discover for themselves. But again, it's the cult mentality. And fine, you want to ignore that. And ignore my tweets asking you why you're fine with Trump being a rapist, pedophile. Okay, fine, that's on you. Then Donald Trump gave safe harbor in Florida to international sex trafficking rapist brothers Andrew and Tristan Tate. Nice family.
Right.
So my question is, where was the outrage then? Now, Ron DeSantis, to his credit, was like, no, thank you, please. And there was maybe like one or two other conservatives who were like, what? But then you had like UFC Dana White, who also likes to punch his wife. He was fine with that, and nobody was saying anything, and everyone's like, yay, Tates. And Alina Habba was like, come here and get some of this, Andrew. It's free. And I was like, but you're too old for him, Alina. But anyway, so my question is, why was there not more controversy about this? Why were not enough Republicans speaking out against this, particularly Nancy Mace, a rape survivor? So I tweeted her about it a few times, and of course there was no answer. So then I called her office. There are two different young men who answer her phone. And by the way, people, if you're signed up for the Political Voices Network Substack, I wrote about this yesterday. It's Tara versus the MAGA Mean Girls. And I actually didn't paywall this one as we normally do. We want you to subscribe, and we want you to financially support Political Voices Network if you can. But this one was too important to me to like cut it off somewhere. And so I want it shared because it may not sound like it's the biggest issue, but to me it's important and it's indicative of a bigger problem. So I called her office, and there are two young guys who answered the phone for her, and I got the nicer one on that particular day.
You know their voices now, huh?
Oh, yeah, no.
You recognize them.
There's a guy who's like a slightly higher pitch, more of a tenor, and then there's a guy with like a slightly deeper voice, and he's the meaner one. So the nicer one, I said, hi, and I introduced myself, and I identified myself as someone who's a contributing writer for the Political Voices Network, because we have a legitimate reason to be contacting her office, while any American citizen can contact any sitting member of Congress for any reason. You and I have more reasons to, right? Because we are sitting here talking to people, presenting the truth, and letting them know what's going on in the world. And you and I are in a very privileged position in that we have gained the trust of people. And they rely on us to tell them what's going on truthfully, whether it's an easy truth or not. So I introduced myself, and I said, why is rape survivor Nancy Mace not spoken out against those sex trafficking rapists? And he was like, well, she's very busy, and she'll probably, and there's a lot going on. I was like, yeah, but this reason and that reason. And he's like, oh, well, I'm sure she'll have a statement for it's coming. Busy.
She's on the pee-pee patrol right now. She's in the
Yeah,
local park's bathroom.
Right. She's busy misgendering Sarah McBride. She's too busy doing that. So, and I was like, okay. And so that was that. And I said I would look forward to seeing her statement, which of course never materialized. And so then I called back the following, like a few days later, which was a week ago Tuesday. So this is March 4th. I called and I got the other guy with the deeper voice. And
that guy.
He wasn't. He said that he wasn't aware of anything. So I reminded him of that, and he took my information, and then nothing happened because nothing ever happens. And so I was like, this, and I was like, it's weird that she has time to be on Twitter though, crying about transgender stuff. And he was like, well, she's working very hard to protect women from men participating in sports. And I'm like, you know what? That's not the question I asked you. That is not the issue I'm concerned about, because that's a bullshit smokescreen issue really to deflect from what they're doing behind blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, okay, fine, whatever, bye. And so then I took it to the next level. When I don't get the answers I'm seeking, I have now called you twice. I'm not getting the answers I'm seeking because you never give me an answer. So I emailed the comms director, which is a unique experience for anyone who's never talked to a communications director for a Republican. Oh boy.
That's a tough job. Yeah.
It is. Now, I don't know about you, but I have studied MAGA bullies extensively over the last decade because they love to come for us, right? But they all behave in pretty similar ways, which is, they attack and they have no substance, and their mentality is about fourth grade level, and they're very juvenile, and they they don't, and the expectations that they put on you to provide facts with links are things that they never do themselves because they're there to waste your time.
And they always want to debate you too. That's another thing. But
with no proof of their own.
Exactly.
They don't have to provide you with a link to anything.
I study the Trumpansies as
right.
Jane
they have memes instead of facts.
Right. So Jane Goodall studied apes. I will study the Trumpansies. Right.
Exactly. And they'll be like, "Oh, libtard," and that's their response. So whatever, grain of salt. So these tactics don't work on me, and they don't distract me, and they don't put me off my game. So this is my focus. I'm very focused on this one particular thing. And so I emailed the comms director. Her name is Gabrielle, so she's another MAGA mean girl, very well equipped in the bullying and the doublespeak. And one thing that they like to do, because we've seen Trump do it and we see other people do it, blaming the questioner instead of answering the question.
Oh God, yes.
So I emailed her last Tuesday the 4th and said, hey, I've emailed your office repeatedly. I'm just trying to get a quote, and she has time to say this, this, and this. She doesn't have time to focus on this.
Yeah,
come on.
What's
now.
the quote? Like I'm glad he's here. He sucks. I mean, what is that? It don't take
hooray
2
for
minutes.
Rape and sex trafficking. like
hooray for
anything Matt Gaetz does is fine. Anything whatever happens in Florida is perfectly legal because Trump said so. Mm-hmm. So it's irritating, and she didn't respond to that. And we all know that sometimes no answer is your answer. And so I'm to surmise that Nancy Mace is fine with sex trafficking and rape.
She must be.
Right? But then she has to go and tweet other bullshit. And I'm just like, oh, that's right. I forgot that I never got an answer about this. So the day before yesterday, I resumed my pursuit in getting this response. And I know this is taking a long time, but I promise you the payoff is worth it. So I got the low-voiced guy again, the mean guy. And I identified myself again, and we go through, and he's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm like, you know who I am? He's like, no, I don't think we've ever spoken. I was like, dude, I talked to you twice last week. It's just, fuck you, dude. I know,
he's just trolling
but whatever.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and I answered the question, and he's like, Congresswoman Mace isn't required to respond to questions from random people.
Random.
And I was like, I'm not a random person. I am a person whose job it is to write the truth and da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. And I said, so I'm just trying to get a response to my question. And he's like, what was your question? I'm like, oh, do you want me to ask you again? Okay, I'll say sex trafficking rapists again.
Wow.
And then he goes, you're a very unpleasant person. And I'm like, why?
I'm sure he's so pleasant at parties.
Yeah, and I said that. I'm like, but you're a joy.
Right.
So
you're working for Nancy Mace, the most horrible person on the planet.
Exactly. And I was like, all right, you know what, dude?
But
I was like, all right, great. I was like, great. You're not going to answer my questions, but what you've done now is provide me with additional content for the piece that I'm going to write about all of this. So what is your name? Because you know my name. What's your name? So I can properly credit you.
Yes.
For the quotes. Like, I want to be able to properly attribute. And he goes, oh, my name is Tara Dublin. T like Tom. A-R-A. Dublin like the capital of Ireland. Because that's what I had said to him. Because that's what I said to him when he asked my name again. I'm like, fucking, you know my name. So he did that a couple of times. And I was like, okay, Captain Maturity. Your name now is Nancy Mace's little bitch. That's your name. And I hung up on him for a change. So that was fun. And so I emailed Gabrielle again. And I was like, this is what happened. You need to train these people better. If they have time to do this, they have time to find out what her answer is. It's not hard. Is she okay with it or not? Say so. So I emailed her. And of course, there's not a response right away. So I took screenshots of the email I sent, along with a screenshot of the phone call number with like how many minutes I was on the phone. And I responded to a tweet from Nancy from her official account, from the Rep Nancy Mace account. And she was like, so-and-so is doing this. And I was like, well, this is what you're doing. This is what you're not doing. So I know I'm not going to get an answer. I got an answer 5 minutes later from Gabrielle. I got Nancy's attention enough that she was like, what is this? Shit. And so Gabrielle emailed me, and all of that is in my article for Political Voices Substack. But basically, she was like, I don't have time. Like, you're it. She blamed me. She was like, well, you're unpleasant and you ask questions. You should be nicer and you should be more respectful or whatever her bullshit was. And I was like, hey, I only give as good as I get. And your guy said this and I just was responding. Wow. And if you have time to email me, then you have time to tell me what Nancy Mace thinks about this. Yeah. And she responds with, I don't have time to engage in a back and forth.
Right.
I'm like,
but she has time to say, I don't have time.
But you have time to tell me that you don't have time? And then she wrote back, I'm glad you had a chance to vet. And I was like, and you had time to email that in trying to get the last word, but you still can't tell me what she thinks.
That's
me getting the last word, and that's her not answering. And so we can now and I wrote all about it, and I ended it with, Nancy Mace is okay with rape because her office hasn't said she's not.
Yeah.
So that's what I would like everybody in the chat. Go to Rep Nancy Mace on Twitter and you share the article. Share the article with her from the Political Voices Substack and say, hey, Nancy, why are you okay with sex trafficking rapists?
Right, because that's what he is.
That's how we hold them accountable. Gavin Newsom, instead of inviting MAGA people on your podcast, I promise, let's make a promise to our friends right now. We're never inviting Charlie Kirk or Steve Bannon on our
way.
show.
No.
What did you think of that? What did you think of that? Because it's Studley Gavin Newsom who's positioning himself to run in 2028, right?
Yeah. It's
great head of hair, great, right? And today he sent out a fundraising email saying, well, this is why I'm doing it. That's not why you're doing it. You're doing it for clickbait.
What did he say? Why? He said,
like, I'm trying to, we're trying to find common ground, and it's important to understand.
Okay.
It's important to understand how they operate, and it's like, you're platforming a traitor.
You're not going to find common ground with people who are tearing down the very system the founders fought a revolution to create and entrust to us. You're not finding common ground with these people. There's no common ground with Nazis or fascists. The only common ground, the only really remedy for them is to make them a permanent minority, as they are meant to be. They're not meant to be in control, as we see with every move they make, because they're not. They hate America. I mean, they don't like the whole grand experiment in liberal democracy. They just hate it. The nation of immigrants, they hate. They hate a nation of laws. Every person, is equal under the law. They hate that. They hate e pluribus unum. They hate.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Then go to Moscow.
Right. Like, and then
get on the repainted Lolita Express.
Yeah. Pledging your
life. Campaigning.
Yeah.
There's plenty of seats. Get the F out. Go home to Mother Russia and
that's
Daddy
what
Vladdy.
pisses me off, right? Like, you don't get to turn this country into an autocracy, an oligarchy like Russia, because you're envious, because you're too underwhelming to make a buck in an actually free country where everybody has a seat at the table, where you have to treat people fairly and with dignity and respect. They can't stand that. That's why they're all out there, waving flags. They wave the flag.
And deporting a 10-year-old girl with brain cancer.
Yeah.
That's the pro-life party.
Right.
That's the pro-life. Starving us to death, taking away our health care.
I wish that they were the half of what they purport to be when they call themselves patriots. They're not patriots.
No.
They're
not.
And there's never been that's in fact an article I'm going to write for the Substack, is there's never been a group that's harmed Americans more than the Republican Party. Prove me wrong.
100%.
Prove me wrong.
We don't have to.
I wish I was wrong.
It's just basic looking back at history, and this is something that I talked about yesterday when I was on Dean Obadela's show on Sirius XM Progress. He has a new segment called Bull Busters that we're doing every other Wednesday, which is we're just fact checking because there's not enough fact checking out there, and that was one of them. It's ridiculous when we have Republicans have a full majority. They have the House and the Senate and the White House, and they're going to try to blame the shutdown on Democrats.
Because they're just one-trick ponies. It's Joe
Biden.
They're
so ineffectual. It makes no sense. And one of the things that I said yesterday, and I've said repeatedly, is what's their end game? Because you have Trump and Musk and Putin and a few other billionaires sitting at the top of the heap. What do they want? Do they want to? They want to be like the last 10 people on Earth sitting around a room smoking cigars and cocktails while watching the end of human civilization outside the window?
Right.
Because
pretty much,
what's the point?
They want to be in the castles and look down on the plebs, while we await our rewards in heaven, and we don't pester them for anything. And that's the system they're creating. They really are.
No. And it's just so ridiculous. You think it's so bad here? Go get on one of Sissy SpaceX's rockets and go to Mars. Go.
Go.
You think it's so bad on Earth.
I know.
You think it's so bad in America when it's actually not. All of these lies about Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme.
I'm so
Donald
sick
Trump
of it.
did not inherit a mess of an economy. He inherited the best economy.
Exactly.
This is another fact that people need to recognize. Look back at history. Republicans tanked the economy. A Democrat has to come in and clean it up, and then another Republican comes in and tanks the economy. Trickle down in economics has never worked.
It's
never,
always a scam.
Ever. And now the tariffs, which are just taxes on consumers, now you're finally learning how those work.
Well, that's
finally. Even Mark Wayne Mullen.
Oh,
his
please.
name is Mark Wayne.
Him.
Mark Wayne.
He's got two
even
names.
Admitted. Okay,
in one.
When you have, so can we all just please? Again, you don't have to hold Trump accountable for everything if you're okay with some of the things, but you need to hold him accountable for the things that are not okay.
Well,
it is not okay to take away your Social Security. It's not okay to dismantle the education department and put the wrestling woman in charge.
Oh, God, I know. And for him to call Elon Musk a patriot, a great patriot, it's so offensive to my soul.
The Nazi immigrant bureaucrat?
He's such a great patriot. Look at him. What does he do for a company except fire people and stress people out and blow shit up and kill people? That's what I'm saying. All he is capable of doing is pushing people to do more with less, meaning, just work your ass off, never go home, drop dead, whatever, F off, But
he doesn't work. He doesn't
That's what I
build.
mean. Yeah.
He
buys
buys after other people have started stuff. Bought Tesla, bought SpaceX, bought Twitter. And what happens when he buys a company?
He ruins
exactly
it.
Like Trump, it starts tanking.
That's
Tesla
it.
stock is bottoming out.
Yeah.
People are protesting at Tesla showrooms. People are returning their Teslas, which is why they did that fully illegal Tesla commercial yesterday at the White House. And
what is
here's
legal?
a fun fact. Here's a fun fact. Donald Trump doesn't have a license, has
He
never
doesn't?
learned to, no.
No?
Donald Trump has never had a driver's license, never learned to drive, and he also doesn't know how to ride a bike. And this is because no one has ever loved him enough to teach him.
Wow, he's never learned to ride a bike.
Never learned to
Even
ride
as
a bike.
a child.
Right?
I mean, I know he
Joe
grew up
Biden
in Queens.
can ride a bike.
Yeah.
Joe Biden can drive a car. Instead, you get Donald Trump outside of the White House pretending to drive a fire truck. Remember that time he was like, I'm driving the fire truck. Beep, beep. I'm the big fireman.
I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy, Daddy.
Right, look, Mommy. Beep, beep. Yesterday, he literally stood there and read a Tesla sales pitch.
I saw.
I
know. Well,
he
I
fully
violated.
How many laws are you violating by standing there selling Teslas in front of the White House? What do I have to do to put you in this beautiful self-driving Tesla?
You're right. It's like,
Welcome,
and I always
Pinto.
I always say that he would be a used car salesman, just a slimy used car salesman. You know,
he's a used car salesman.
I don't know if we need to see him doing that. I don't know.
He's
he's like because number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets.
It's a great product.
And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. And I think he's been treated very unfairly by
isn't he
a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot.
Oh.
And he's a great patriot.
Oh, good.
And he's also
he's not a great patriot.
He wasn't born here.
By the way, he's a parasite, not a patriot.
If he was a melanated South African, you wouldn't be his best friend.
No.
He would not be there right now.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
Putin would have found somebody else who runs some satellites instead. He would have found a white man with satellites.
Well,
instead.
and I just read this article. I don't remember where, but I think it was on Raw Story, where they're saying that when Trump is on the phone with Putin, that Putin is mocking him, and because he doesn't speak Russian, and he's only getting a translation, but of course it is lost in the translation, and Putin is doing
but
it
imagine
on
the
purpose.
Giggling. Mm-hmm. Like Putin's like and says all of this shit in Russian. He goes, tell him, and I say he a good boy.
That's what it
tell
is.
him I say I'm very proud, very proud. But what he's really saying is you're a useless, worthless, idiotic piece of shit. You were the best I had.
Of course,
that's it.
Course.
I can't wait to get rid of you so I can start puppet mastering JD Vance instead.
And
did you see what JD Vance was wearing in the Oval Office? By the way, did you see how JD Vance dressed to greet the Irish piano?
Oh, no.
What did they call him?
Really?
I don't know. Yes. He was wearing like short pants and like green socks and a green tie. The man who insulted what the president of Ukraine was wearing looked like a leprechaun sitting in the Oval Office.
Was he doing that on purpose?
I don't know, but I was
look
waiting
like a
for
leprechaun?
Yeah, I was waiting for him to say, "Oh, can you find me Lucky Charms? I hid them down there behind the Resolute desk," or something. And by the way, this time of year is always a challenge for me because my name is the most Irish name ever, but I'm Jewish.
It's crazy.
I'm not Irish at all. Like at all, not in any way am I Irish.
It's a little weird. Yeah,
it's my real name. It's always been my family's name going back to Poland.
I wonder
we
why.
are 100%. I've actually had it researched. Like a genealogist has found that they came from a town in Poland that I can't remember, but there was like a whole group of Dublins. And my theory, maybe there was a factory that was run by a company out of Dublin or something. Yeah. But when they all got on the ships and came over here. Dublin. So I used to joke that we got Corleoned somehow at Ellis Island, but apparently no. That's good. But anyway, so top of the morning to you when I don't get to see you on Monday. But anyway, it's just all of it is such a farce. Everything is such Donald Trump just cares about the show. Yeah. He's all about the style with no substance. Always has been, like a game of 3 card Monty. And he really, people are already making parody used car salesman videos from what he did yesterday at the White House.
It's so embarrassing.
It's very close to, what do I have to do to get you into this beautiful Chrysler LeBaron?
Right.
Again, it's all a grift. The grift is just endless.
It's just disgusting. It's very embarrassing. It's debasing the country. It's beneath the dignity of the United States, I would think. And I feel bad for everybody who ever gave their life for this country. It makes me ashamed, really, you know.
Especially when they're taking benefits away from vets.
Right.
Because he's so jealous of real bravery, cadet
and
votes first.
he called what's
Never served.
John Kelly a traitor because he went to
Mark
Ukraine.
Kelly.
Oh, yeah, Mark Kelly, excuse me, because he went to Ukraine. How dare you, Elon Musk?
Well, it's a great opportunity to point out that Ukraine is our ally, unlike the Republican Party.
Right.
So
it's insane.
They have really shown themselves. And what's interesting, you know, people are talking about, well, this didn't happen last time. You survived last time. Last time he had enough people around him who cared about preserving American democracy.
Exactly. That's it.
And this time, everyone's like, burn it all down.
Yeah.
And so finally, though, we are seeing some unifying messaging from the Democrats. They are not going to vote for their CR to keep the government open because it's a filthy CR. They want a clean CR. Well, I mean,
because that's what people
Democrats
are saying to them. You know,
need to be obstructing. You need to be obstructing. Just like Mitch McConnell said they were going to do about Obama. They wanted to make Obama a one-term president. They did not hide their agenda. They were very blatant about their obstruction. And then they ended up, you know, failing because he was not a one-term president and he was amazing. And then again, now what they're trying to do is negate Joe Biden's incredibly successful one term where he did more for this country than most presidents could do in 2 terms.
Right.
So their messaging is a mess.
But how long do you think he's going to be? I mean, do you think that the maggots believe, oh, this is all Joe Biden, right? I mean, how long is he going to get away with that excuse? I know he'll continue to use it.
They're going to keep trying because they'll never take responsibility. Right. But you cannot dump this on Joe Biden when he left office.
He gave him a great, and that's apparently that's what he said to him.
Thriving economy.
Behind closed doors. He told
exactly,
and he complimented him
in the brief letter he left for Trump. He said, you know, I've left you this. Please don't.
But Trump,
he basically was like, don't mess up what I did, Jack.
Right, but Trump actually
all you
complimented
need to do is look
him.
at the numbers side by side. Because
I mean, it's like,
and
but
now
then
they have to undo all of that. And
he did the same thing with Obama, though. You know,
of course,
saying he was left.
But the records speak for themselves.
Armageddon.
That's the thing, and. Our economy was so great that it lifted up all other global economies with ours, which is why global markets are tanking. And people are asking, who in Trump world is deliberately tanking the Dow so they can game it and make money from it when it starts coming back up?
Right.
Because he's deliberately pushing us into a recession where it might end up being a depression.
True. Yeah,
and coming back from that is, and you have to, again, the question for me is always why. You want to tank the American economy after 4 years, you know, whose money though? Because
no,
it's not,
I
we're
know
not
what you're saying.
Benefit,
I don't know. I mean, they don't care about us.
Work.
They don't, I mean, they're not, this is not about us except to use, as Ayn Rand said, fuel to be burned by those who deserve it. And they all worship Ayn Rand, who was a sociopath.
Which is disgusting.
Yeah,
right,
and,
of course.
They're all sociopaths.
But they're also cowards. They're sociopathic cowards. They will not hold town halls anymore, Republicans, because they're afraid of people showing up and confronting them about what they're doing. So now Democrats are going into red states and are holding town halls in red states where they're, like Eric Swalwell just went to Idaho.
That's
good. You want to talk about a red state? Yep. I mean, Eric Swalwell was standing in Boise, Idaho in front of 1,000 people. And he was like, you know, in 2026, when we win back the House in the midterms, people are going to ask how. And why did you know, how did this happen? And he's going to say, because I went to Boise, Idaho, and I told people, and we all agreed that Democrats are not to be fucked with, because now they are finally realizing what they think they're going to get away with. So slowly. Obviously, because they thought it was going to be like last time where it's like, oh, you say you're going to do it, but you're really not going to do it. No, he's doing what he said he was going to do. He's quickly doing it, too, before anyone can stop him.
Well, that's it.
And I think that's also part of it, right?
And it is. It's written in Project 2025 that all of their destruction will be complete by 90 days. By the 100th day, 90 days. That's what that was their time frame. And it's written right in Project 2025, and the Democrats, all they have to do is read it, because that's the blueprint they're following, even though Trump ran as if he didn't know anything about it. Oh, I don't know. It's really extreme, that Project 2025.
I just like this Agenda 47, which is not Project 2020.
Yeah, he even said
like
it's extreme, Oh, that is extreme. But what is it, Project 25?
What is it? Oh, I don't know. I never heard it. Many people are saying there's nothing wrong with it, though. Many fine people are saying it. It's
so
actually
unfair.
Do great things for America. So I just want to make America smart again. I want the smart kids to be louder than the stupid kids, so that the truth is louder than the lies. Which at this time is close to impossible when they're handpicking who gets to be in the White House press room.
It's
to
unreal.
Listen to Caroline tell the entire world she doesn't understand how tariffs work.
I know.
That was beautiful. Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it. I heard.
Well, because
I think
they're
Tom
like, if
Hartman
you ever paid a tariff, and she was like, "How dare you question whether or not I've paid my tariff? How dare you question whether or not I understand? You don't.
How dare you?
Don't understand.
How dare you question it?
I'm blind.
Well, answer it.
A cross. How dare you?
Oh yes. Well, that's like Nancy Mace and her cross earrings and big cross on her neck, and they're such Christians, you see, except they don't follow any of the teachings of the Savior they pretend to worship. Yeah, except bashing gays. That's the only, and trans people. That's the only holy obligation. And and I always think,
pick and choose.
Yeah,
pick and choose, like they do the Constitution.
Jesus would hang out with trans people. I believe if he came back, they'd crucify him again. So
Right.
This
and
is the people we're dealing with.
But they never live by. They don't practice what they preach.
No.
There are very few religious people that I've seen throughout my lifetime that actually live what they say. Mm-hmm. And one of them just died, Jimmy Carter.
Right.
Lifelong Christian, lived
true.
Those principles, right? And you cannot deny that the man lived those principles every single day
turned
as
against
an example.
Him. Yep, exactly.
Right, and the same thing, Joe Biden, devout, lifelong Catholic, despite the unimaginable personal tragedy. Like, you want to think about something that can make you turn away from God if you believed. You losing your wife and your daughter in a horrific car accident and then losing your son to brain cancer years later, that would give me pause. I would ask some questions. But Joe Biden remains staunch in his faith to this day. And the third person, and then I'm done, is Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is another lifelong devout Catholic who lives by that doctrine to the point when he needs medical care, he goes to a Catholic hospital, like a saint, whatever. So, and again, he also has lived through unimaginable personal tragedy. He lost his father and two brothers in a plane crash.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Going on after that, because if you're an atheist like I am, I'd be like, well, where was God to keep the plane from falling out of the sky in the first place? So, but instead of doing that, he leaned into his faith and said, God brought my brothers and father home because he needed them to be in service to more people or something, or whatever they believe. So if you're going to live by example, follow the example of Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden and Stephen Colbert.
No, they mocked him. That's
not the guy who stands out there holding up the Bible upside down in the now dismantled Black Lives Matter Plaza.
Oh, please. I know. Because it's
what a PAB.
I know.
Petty.
They're so
petty.
fragile, and so they don't contribute anything. All they do is tear apart, and that's why they'll never. That's why they go after DEI and as Henry Wallace said, exploit every fissure of disunity is one of the hallmarks of the American fascists, and that's what they do. Every fissure of disunity, they just tickle it and tickle, and they pick at that scab. They never heal. They never get out there and say, can't we all get along? Let's all understand each other.
They're not interested in that.
No, because they can't.
They're not interested.
Grab and steal and smash and grab this nation. And it's a sickness. Elon Musk is the most disgusting person on the planet. And that is a very crowded field, of Republicans.
It is.
They're all up there. And, there are all these horrible people. in positions of authority in a system that they fundamentally loathe. And it's not going to end well for them. It won't, because
it's not.
It's
They're
only
being all
6
smug
weeks
right now. But
yeah, and that's what I think. It's only been 6 weeks, and the stock market's crashing, and everything else that's happening. Kids are dying of measles.
Come on, I mean,
diseases we eradicated.
How can anybody be okay with this? The good thing is that a new poll just came out, and something like 56% of Americans are not happy with Elon Musk, and 53% are not happy with the direction the country's going in. And Trump's approval rating is the lowest it's ever been in his career.
It just irritates me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a time to revisit election interference, because there was, and he admitted it again this week. This week he's admitted it at least 3 times on camera. The first time was all the way back in July, when he's 2 weeks after he became besties with Elon. He's like, we already have the votes. You don't have to vote, and then you won't have to vote ever again.
Right.
I wonder why. Right, and then the night before the inauguration, he said they rigged the election, and that's how we won. And for 12 hours, we were like, wait, stop, don't. And they did nothing. Democrats did nothing except, like, Jasmine Crockett tweeted, like, did he just admit that he rigged the election? Yes, Jasmine, he did. Why don't you physically block him from being sworn in? And then just the other day, from the Oval Office, when he was talking about, I think it was the World Cup, and he was like, we wouldn't have it if they, if it wasn't for me, and they rigged the election and we won, and now here we are.
Wow.
That's what he said. And he's and MAGA was immediately like, no, he meant the Democrats rigged the election, but we won anyway. No.
Well, he's probably
if
getting
Democrats
that
rigged the election, Kamala would have won, you idiots. And it's just Democrats, and again, and here's I just want the forensic audit, because there is no such thing as a Democrat or a progressive that votes for Democratic ideals down ballot and Democratic measures down ballot, but then votes for a Republican who won't implement any of the measures we just voted for.
Right.
That does not happen.
I mean,
no,
it's so true.
Not. And it's frustrating, because it's almost like, you cannot give up on democracy, and I don't care what it looks like. It's not election denialism if you're actually in pursuit of the truth.
It's true. And the corporate media always tries to normalize it as this new phenomenon of vote splitting. And I don't know, it doesn't seem very logical. Why? I mean, why? Why would you vote Democrat all down ticket?
I don't know, but did you see?
And then vote for the parasite. Yeah. Did I see what?
Then there's also the other stuff going on with, I mean, obviously they don't want anybody voting again. And so they're working on making sure they can't. And there's the SAVE Act, the SAVE Act, which Democrats cannot vote for, because one of the many things that they're trying to do within the SAVE Act is say that if you're going to vote from now on, your birth certificate and your ID have to match. So the name on your ID has to match the name on your birth certificate.
So there goes women.
If you're a married woman who has taken her husband's name, which has been the tradition in this country forever, your birth certificate name is not your name on your legal documents now, because you legally changed your name.
Oh, they did that deliberately, of course. Yeah.
And they did that deliberately to make sure women can't vote.
Yep.
This is the next step. They took away our right to choose. Now they want to take away our right to vote. They want to repeal the 19th Amendment and let me, you want to get into your schoolhouse rock. Do not do that,
Wow.
We were suffering until suffrage. So, but that's a deliberate move from the Republican Party, trying to get one over on everybody, because there are women in the MAGA cult who took their husband's name, and maybe they don't want to vote anymore, but I can tell you that Democratic and progressive women still do.
Right.
So,
wow.
What does this mean? What does this mean? Does this mean that these women have to legally change their names back to the names they had at birth, so that it'll match?
It's setting up obstacles.
Or are they going to have to? You can't change your birth certificate.
I know.
So what do you do?
I don't know.
And that's a
It's
great question
ridiculous.
to ask Republicans when you have the opportunity to ask them questions. There are a million questions you can ask them, and whatever your issue is your issue.
Right. It's all based.
It's
in
an
lies,
annoyance
too. They go after all the fake problems. They create the problems. There's no illegals voting in the election at all, because I'm reading the background. Exactly. But I'm reading the background on the SAVE Act to ensure that only U.S. citizens can vote. in federal
right,
elections.
Voter ID. And,
you know, it's like, look, by mandating proof of citizenship during voter registration, introduced by Chip Roy, the bill has been a focus of Republican lawmakers since its proposal in May 2024. So you need a birth certificate or other specified documents to prove citizenship. Driver's licenses, including real IDs, which is another layer of proof, are not sufficient. And
I mean, they're just creating more obstacles. Yeah. And just as I was about to bring this up, but Wisdom said it in the chat also, we should all be voting by mail. Anybody who has a permanent, now there are plenty of people who don't have a permanent address and can't receive a ballot by mail, which is understandable. They can go to a precinct and vote. But everybody who has a fixed address who's a registered voter should be able to vote by mail on a paper ballot that's not hackable like we've been able to do out here in Oregon and Washington. Lots of other states have it. But one of the very few things that I can agree with Donald Trump about is that we need paper ballots. But the fact that he asked for it is not the reason we asked for it. He doesn't understand what he's asking for. He's actually asking to make the vote more secure with mail-in paper ballots, because you do it at home. There's no one here to intimidate you. You have plenty of time to make your decisions. Right. You put it in a sealed envelope, and then you put it in the mail. And that's another reason why they wanted to slow the mail in 2020. So, you know, and you can try to mess with that, but at least you can't change the vote on a paper ballot. It is filled in by hand. So I understand wanting to do that, and I think that absolutely makes sense. It makes voting easier for people. There are people who are homebound who can't physically get out, vote. Voting by mail is one of the best and easiest ways, and it's also one of the most honest and legitimate ways. Right. So, you know, like, but you can't, like, it's like pick a lane. Like, you can't steal an election if all of the votes are unhackable. So, like, what do you want? You want to steal an election, or you want a real election?
Yeah, but so they just put up
voter fraud is a huge problem.
But they just put up as many obstacles as they can. Go ahead, sorry.
Roxanne, did I say South American? I meant South African. Sometimes I slip and I say South American. He said African. But Jim wants to know, will a poll tax make America great again? No. Increasing taxes for poor people is always a bad idea. The new tax cuts, if anybody in the chat makes more than $360,000 a year, congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations to you, because you're getting a tax cut.
Yeah, you should subscribe to the Substack.
For all of the Substacks. But if you don't make more than $360,000, I don't know anyone who does. Our taxes are going up. Yay. Yeah.
As always.
Are we great yet?
As always.
Are we great yet? Is that great?
That's why it pisses me off all the time when I go onto the conservative Reddit page or whatever. Even in my life, if I encounter one of these Trumpansies, they always talk about, well, we want low taxes. You're not getting low taxes, Doopy. You're the one who is being siphoned
you're not getting low
from
prices.
No, you're not. It's not you whose taxes are being lowered. It's like they're so deluded. They think
so deluded.
Haven't you been paying attention what's going on the last 40 years? The United States went from the most to the least upwardly mobile, from the slightest income gap to the widest income gap. I mean, that's by design. It's through tax policy. And why the CEO now makes 500 times the lowest paid worker. It used to be 50 times. Come on. It's not you whose taxes are being lowered. It's so sickening. Stockholm syndrome.
I mean, I hope that they'll start. I mean, they are starting to catch on because they are seeing an increase in their grocery prices. Unfortunately, they're being told, what they're being told by Republican leadership is, all right, well, you're just going to have to tighten your belt a little bit now. That's what Americans do. Yeah. Stiff upper lip.
Yeah, that's what they tell them.
But that's not what they were promised. That's not what you were promised.
No, day one.
On the campaign trail, you were promised a lot of things on day one that were not delivered, and now you have to make excuses instead of being able to brag that your guy did anything. This is just another reason why you should have voted for Kamala Harris, because you would have been able to enjoy a nice omelet for breakfast, probably, without it being too expensive. It shouldn't cost you $7 to buy a dozen eggs. It just shouldn't.
No
matter where you live.
But
And so
he's got no plan anyway. So, all his
never
plan
did.
is to say Joe Biden had a chicken holocaust before he left office. It was a Joe Biden, all the chickens he's ordered, like King Herod, I guess, kill all the chickens.
Sure.
Kill all the
Sure.
firstborn chickens.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God.
but
It's, no, I think,
it's all
I think
bullshit, of course.
the Jews are next. We're next because I don't know if you saw, but Trump tweeted the pink triangle.
What?
Remember the pink triangle that represents
Act Up? Or the political prisoners?
The pink triangle represents the LGBTQ prisoners in the concentration camps. And Trump tweeted it with a slash through it.
What?
Like some other person tweeted it and he retweeted them.
And crossed it out?
So they're they're using Nazi imagery.
Oh.
Okay. That Nazi imagery means we're looking to eliminate. It's about elimination.
What?
And so eliminating that.
Of course.
Jews are next. He's using the word globalist more in his posts, and globalist is a dog whistle.
Yeah.
For Jews. Jews did this.
It's right out of QAnon.
I mean, it's ridiculous and it's very Hitlery. And I've been saying this pretty much the entire time Trump has been in the public eye. George Soros is not paying me to do shit.
No,
I've
he's
never
a
been
big
paid.
boogeyman.
I don't have to be paid. I don't have to be paid like to make George Soros into the boogeyman, but Elon Musk is okay to walk around Washington and ruin everything, right? So and I'll also reiterate, Jews don't run everything. We don't run the media. And we don't run the banks, because if that was the case, I would not be sitting here doing a podcast. No offense.
Right.
I would be running something. I would not be trying to get a book deal. This would already be a streaming series because I would own Netflix.
It's true.
Right?
I wish.
I would own everything. I would own all of the things that I've been working my ass off to get. I would have a house. I wouldn't live in an apartment. I would have all of the comfort things that rich people. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy.
Yeah.
But if I had Elon money, I would be giving most of it away. But my point is, I don't own the banks. I don't run the media. I don't know anyone who does.
Right.
It's just not that. It's just not true. And the issue is, I mean, are Jews good with money or good at math? Maybe.
Yeah, but you know why? There's a historical.
We don't run shit.
But it's a historic. The reason it's such a trap, though, because the reason the Jews got good at money was because they weren't allowed to do other professions in certain periods of time, and because it was in the Bible that lending money at interest was against God or whatever. They let the Jews do the lending money, so the good Christians wouldn't have to burn in hell for lending money. So they were kind of funneled into that, and then they became. Of course, that created a lot of resentment. Oh, he wants my money, But that's
what greedy. That's right. Yeah. Money grubbing Jews. All of those tropes. I mean, there's greed across the world, across all religions, races, creeds, colors. Greed doesn't have a color, just like lies don't have a color. It doesn't. That's not what it's about. And we're such a small percentage of the world's population. And as our transgender people are the smallest segment of the population, and the fact that you're going after small segments of the population when every ill in this country, if not the world, can be traced directly to a mediocre white man with a chip on his shoulder.
Right. And it's also,
Prove me wrong. You can't. Right. You can't prove me wrong about that.
Of course. Just look at the history of the world. That's why it's so, for them to talk about DEI and, make America great by having underwhelming white loyalists in positions of authority, that's not the recipe for success. It's not. So
no, but but it's about the elimination. And remember, they're so worried. Remember the marching in Charlottesville when they were screaming, "Jews will not replace us." What they were saying is, we're replacing the Jews. We want to replace everybody who isn't white. It's Hitler's replacement theory, and that's why you see so many people who are super into forced birth right now. Right. So what they're looking to do, if you want to ask why are they trying to kill us all, They're looking to wipe the slate clean of anybody ethnic, anybody smart, anybody who's going to remember real American history, so they can rewrite our history and create an obedient white army of child drones,
dumbasses
who will serve dear leader and continue to populate the country, and that's how you get idiocracy. Everybody should watch. I feel like there's like two things that are, like, watch Hamilton to understand what we fought for, and then watch Idiocracy to show you what we don't want to end up as.
Right.
It's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. And last Thursday, I'm checking the time. Last Thursday was when I went to see Hamilton. So, oh my God, it was so good. I was crying, and it's just certain lines hit harder this time around. Just because of the situation we're in, particularly the line with immigrants, we get the job done, like they held because the crowd was cheering so much.
Wow.
And there's just so many reasons to continue to fight for our democracy instead of just giving in, because giving in is easy, fighting is hard, and you need to fight, and it's exhausting. And that's one of the things that I wrote about on my Substack today, which is just taradublin.substack.com. But sign up for that and sign up for Political Voices. But that it's okay to find joy and take breaks and seek community instead of self-isolating. And so I wrote, I'm wearing my Low Bar Corral shirt today because Low Bar Corral is my self-care. Excuse me. And the reason it was on my mind is, like, today on my Facebook memories, a pop-up we did when we were in the lockdowns and couldn't get together to sing. We did virtual corrals. And there was an editor who put all of our parts together. And it just, reminded me of, it's a similar feeling to what we're going through now. That feeling of, oh my God, this is a really hard, unprecedented moment in our history. We've never dealt with our government actively trying to kill us before. That's weird.
That's
and
right.
So like the lockdowns, we could not glimpse a time when it would be over. When we could say we have a definitive timeline here where we can rely on, okay, we're going to get through this rough business, and then after that it'll be better. We don't really have that right now. And I think not having something to look forward to is bringing us down collectively, and not having so that's why I wrote about it. Like, please, everybody, I will never tell people how to do their activism. Whatever your activism is, whatever your comfort level is, do that, because all acts of resistance will add up. You must take care of yourself. You must take care of yourself emotionally and physically, whatever that means to you. If it means a binge watch of, right now I'm binge watching stuff that was either made before 2015 or is set before 2015, because I don't need to have the world I'm living in also in front of me once I'm done with my work for the day. I'm binge, 1923. Go watch 1923. It's fabulous. Listen to music, seek community, get out of your home and go. I had happy hour with a friend yesterday just to get out.
You gotta.
Just to stop isolating. You gotta.
That's
so
true.
I want that to be the lasting message as we depart for the week. And we also have really good news.
Yes.
Let's tell everybody what's going to happen next
I just
week.
want to hold on a second. Hold on. Elizabeth is saying, please promote the Veterans March on the 14th.
Oh, that's right.
14th, 15th, and 16th, the nationwide Veterans March.
Every state capital is hosting a march for veterans across the country. So if you're a person who is comfortable with going out and being in a crowd and protesting, go for it. Go for it and do it. I tend to shy away from that now in Portland because I've seen too much violence around the protests in Portland.
A lot of
like the Black Bloc people always come, and sometimes you get a handful of Proud Boys or whatever.
That's what it is.
But yes,
but go
I
ahead.
will always stand up for our veterans, though.
Yes,
you always stand up for veterans because we would not be here without them.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding. I was in the National Guard, but it's still service, damn it. It's service. I'm not nagging the National Guard.
You take time to serve your country.
Yeah. No, I love it. It was a time.
People is,
go ahead.
Yes,
tell us.
This is a time also, and we will get through it. But you need to find the joy and embrace it. And we have good news because starting next week, we're going to be doing 2 shows a week. It's 2 Taras, 2 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
For now,
only
might
with
expand
teas.
even more. Only with teas. So we will be back. You won't have to wait a whole week. We'll be back on Tuesday, the 18th, at this same time, same channel, to be here for you even more. Because we love chatting with you. We love talking with you. We love that you show up in the chat and that you're invested. The Amazon blackout is wrapping up tomorrow, so you can get back into buying my book at taradublinrocks.com. Devlin, tell them where they can support you.
Well, patreon.com/Tara Dublin, and come to my YouTube at youtube.com/C for channel/Tarabuster. On Fridays, we have a show, 8:30 p.m. And everybody's welcome. It's and Jim is there too.
Crossover, children. All are well. Hey, Jim.
All right.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for moderating.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
You can catch me. I have a YouTube also at Tara Dublin Rocks, which is also my blue sky. I'm Tara Dublin Rocks 1, the number 1 on Instagram. And make sure, if you have the means, a monthly for my Substack is $10. What is that? A Starbucks? So do what you can to support independent media, because our voices and the truth matter more than ever. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. And we'll see you on Tuesday.
We'll see you Tuesday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.